Hello and welcome to A Wild Idea, brought to you by Wildflower International. I'm your host, Andrew Baltzerini, and the topic for today's episode is Securing Federal Networks, the Critical Role of NAC in Zero Trust Architecture. Now, in an era of increasing cyber threats, securing government networks is more critical than ever. Today, we explore how network access control, or NAC, plays a pivotal role in building a zero trust framework for federal and state agencies. I am gratefully and happy to be joined today with one of our key partners, Juniper Networks, and their Director of Product Management, Slava Dementyev, to talk about NAC and its criticality to helping federal government agencies build a strong security posture using a zero trust approach for their wired and wireless infrastructure. Welcome, Slava. It's great to have you. We appreciate you taking the time. I know that you're in the Czech Republic and we're in the US, but thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Andrew. Nice to be here.
Well, let's just jump right into it and start with the basics for those who may not be super familiar with network access control. But so why is NAC, or again, network access control, so vital for government agencies today?
I would actually start by saying that, government agencies are going through very similar challenges as many enterprises today. But, when it comes to security or network access in general, because everybody needs to think about the overall zero trust architecture, and NAC plays a key or important role in it, is just one of the tools in the toolkit. But what makes it probably more complicated for the government or federal agencies is really all of the compliance requirements with regulations like FISMA, like FedRAMP, and all of the NIST guidelines, etc. Going through continuous security audits, there's a lot more responsibilities on their end because they're working with classified data, they're working with citizen data. They need to make sure that this data is protected and their network is protected. Now, a modern network access control needs to ensure that every single endpoint when it tries to enter the network is properly identified, authenticated, and authorized before provided any access to the network, right? So only least privileges is given, while NAC is going to do all the continuous monitoring in real time to make sure that the end device posture stays the same.
Wow. Okay, so then how does NAC align with the zero trust model that so many agencies are adopting?
Right. So when we talk about the zero trust architecture, zero trust model, the important part is to remember the zero trust security principles that we need to keep in mind. And I'll talk about them in a second. But the key part is that there is no one-size-fits-all technology that would say, oh, hey, I'm going to deploy this technology and I will have my zero trust architecture ready. That doesn't work this way. We must remember that security is always multi-layered, right? So it's all about technologies working together, integrating with one another, providing information to one another to enhance the security posture of the entire network, right? The job of network access control in particular, as we see today, is to authenticate and authorize every client device at an entry point on your campus network before allowing any access, identify who or what is trying to connect based on that identity, apply respective policy, and drop that device into a specific microsegment, right? And optionally update any of your upstream services about that client, saying, hey, this device is actually John at organization.com. You can apply a user-specific policy on top of that. But all of that is also layered with this continuous monitoring approach. So you need to make sure that it's not only done at the entry point when the client is trying to connect and authenticate. You need to do it all the time, 24/7, right? And if you detect a security posture change, let's say a device becomes non-compliant, there is a malware on it, you need to make sure you can immediately act and apply a proper policy and quarantine that device. So it is all in alignment with some of the core zero trust security principles. Never trust, always verify. Identity-centric security, microsegmentation, continuous monitoring, provide list privilege access, and make sure you're doing explicit verification. And if you look at this, this is quite different to what we used to think of NAC a decade ago, right? Because NAC as a terminology, as a solution, was out there for the last 20 years. And I'm sure many people in the audience, if they've been deploying NAC solutions for the past 20 years, they would tell you totally different stories of what it used to be in the past, because originally, NAC principle was, hey, trust, then verify. So let it connect, then figure out if it's actually supposed to be there. But that's not the logic that you can use in today's zero trust architecture world, right?
Okay, so, obviously Wildflower International is a federally elite partner with Juniper Networks, and one solution that's gaining traction is Juniper Access Assurance. Can you explain its role in this space?
Yeah, Juniper Access Assurance is a cloud native. It's a NAC as a service solution that's enforcing policies for your corporate IoT, BYOD, or guest devices, or literally anything that tries to connect to a campus network. It is built on a modern microservices-based architecture, which in practical terms means that it's auto-scaling to make sure that all the demands on the number of endpoints in your network are constantly met. It provides incredible feature velocity. So, on a periodic basis, you will just get new feature updates, or most importantly, security patches that is not introducing any downtime to the service itself. It's something that people could not afford to do with the legacy NAC solutions of the past. You have to have a downtime, not in this case. Now, the service is also geo-aware, meaning that if you have sites deployed around the country, right, in East Coast, West Coast, Central, you need to make sure that the service provides optimum latency for the authentication, as it's critical in your data path. Like the faster you authenticate a client, the faster it gets on. So all these authentications are automatically steered to the next nearest pod that we have deployed in the United States or globally, right? And then one important aspect is access assurance is actually natively integrated into the whole Juniper Networks network stack, right? So if you have wireless access, you have wired access, SD-WAN, all of that is tightly integrated within the Juniper Mist cloud, providing the whole umbrella of the network ops plus network access control in one place, right? Which is also governed by the Juniper Mist AI that sits on top of it, and it tries to detect anomalies, provide visibility, enhances operations, and just simplifies your day-to-day life as an IT admin. And for government agencies, it would also be very important to mention that our Juniper Mist Cloud actually has received the FedRAMP moderate certification recently, right? So that's when speaking about compliancy and regulations, that's a very key important aspect.
Yeah, that's a big one for sure. I still have to make the assumption that, or actually, I'll just ask you, what challenges do federal government or just government agencies in general face when they're implementing NAC or a network access control solution, and how does Juniper address these specifically?
I would say that we can split these challenges into two main buckets. The first bucket is really if you're still trying to work with your legacy NAC solution, or for some reason you're trying to deploy a new NAC solution built on that legacy architecture that is a decade old at this point, meaning that you have to deploy server farms, you need to maintain scale, you need to have experts that would actually design that infrastructure for you on how to scale this for X amount of sites, how many thousands of clients trying to connect, while trying to connect this with your network infrastructure, right? Because it's not enough to just deploy the NAC infrastructure on your premises, if you're doing this legacy way, you need to actually tell your network infrastructure to enforce authentication and authorization on every single switch port, on every single AP, to make sure that nobody is just allowed to connect without the proper authorization. And then once you've done that, and that's usually a year-long process or year-long project in many cases, you go into the day-to-day operations, like how do you perform security updates to your NAC infrastructure? How do you monitor that you need to scale up or scale down, or how do you troubleshoot if issues happen? And that's been a main pain point of any NAC deployment for any organization in the past 20 years. The second bucket is actually, all right, so if you're still working with this legacy NAC solutions of the past, how real-time can they protect your network, right? So they typically work only on the first connection. If the client was deemed as compliant and properly authorized at the time of connection, it's actually good to go for the rest of the day. A lot can happen during that day, right? So the question is, how do you actually make sure this is real-time? It can receive information from different sources, and if something changes, it can mitigate these kind of attack vectors. So, in response to these two buckets, right, as I was saying, Juniper's access assurance is the cloud-based, microservices-based NAC service that we maintain. From a customer point of view, all you have to do is just really to enable it. There is no server infrastructure to deploy. There's no server farms to look after. And when it comes to actually deploying access assurance along with the Juniper Mist full stack networking, it becomes extremely easy to actually enforce this on your network as well, because you have a common management platform, which is the Juniper Mist Cloud. And it becomes really a one-click operation where you say, okay, yeah, I want to enforce NAC on the entire wired or wireless network or everything. It takes literally minutes as opposed to years in the past. And secondly, when we speak about the real-timeness of data, by being cloud native, it is very easy for us to integrate with other information sources, meaning getting context about the endpoint health, for example, from your EDRs or MDMs, or even sending data northbound to your firewalls to make sure that you update the identity of the client that's trying to connect. And that is the key part where, if something changes in the device posture, say it becomes non-compliant, or maybe it's a headless IoT device and it was previously detected as a printer, and now it's actually appearing as a Linux laptop. That's a suspicious thing. We need to make sure that this does not stay this way, so we immediately act on it and we apply the proper policy.
Wow. I mean, I'm sold. So, okay, so this is great. I mean, that's a lot of minutia. I mean, really technical stuff. But to help people understand, I mean, what tangible benefits can agencies expect from implementing solutions like the one you just covered, Juniper Mist Access Assurance?
I would say first it will be improved security with the dynamic policy enforcement that is actually very easy to deploy and implement on a network of any scale. And it doesn't matter if it's a 1,000 client organization or it's an organization with multiple millions of endpoints connecting on a daily basis. Then it improves the visibility on who and what is actually connecting to your network and who is there right now, right? That's the key information when it comes to zero trust architecture model. You need to identify who and what is on your network. And that's very easily achievable with access assurance. Secondly, it provides you with enhanced compliance with all of your regulatory frameworks like FedRAMP, right? FISMA. Again, it's a tool in a toolkit. Without it, being compliant is it's quite challenging. And finally, with the AI sitting on top, it simplifies your day-to-day life when it comes to operations, when it comes to troubleshooting issues that may arise and affect the end user connectivity experience. But also, it dramatically simplifies your day-to-day operations from security patching point of view, from getting new features. This becomes just a service that we provide to the customer. You don't have to do anything to get this up, to keep it up to date all the time.
Wow, I mean, that sounds amazing, actually. Coming from my perspective, but for sure. But so looking ahead, how do you see NAC evolving to meet future challenges?
I think there's a lot of investment, and there's obviously a lot of focus on AI and machine learning that we are actually working on, and we are already doing AI-based anomaly detection when, for example, we are looking at clients changing their posture state, or clients changing their fingerprint, pretending who they are. So we are already using AI models to do that. But most importantly, I think we are also seeing trends in all of the agentic AI use cases where, sometimes it's not about how the system works, but maybe the intent that an admin gave is not actually providing you a foolproof security. Sometimes people configure their policies in a way that it's not actually foolproof. So an agent is actually a great thing to look at what you have on your network, look at what's configured and what is there right now, and tell you, hey, maybe there is a better way to do it because we have identified a gap in your security model, right? So something that has to do with fixing human thinking mistakes rather than the technology or functionality of its own. And obviously, with the fact that there's we see a great adoption of cloud-native solutions in government or federal agencies like Juniper Mist. Again, this is where the trend is going. Like many solutions out there, not just NAC, they're all moving to the cloud just to support the hybrid work environments, right? So we expect more and more workloads to continue to move to the cloud as they're doing today.
Wow, fantastic. And I think that's a great place to stop for today. And I want to say thank you very much, Slava, for this, very insightful discussion. I mean, obviously NAC, again, network access control, is essential for zero trust because it authenticates and authorizes every access request, enforces policy and least privilege, supports network segmentation, and enables ongoing monitoring, all of which are critical to reducing risk and strengthening organizational security. Now, to learn more about how Juniper Access Assurance can help your agency build towards a zero trust approach, and in turn, a stronger overall security posture, just in a browser, enter Juniper Mist Access Assurance, and it'll take you right into the Juniper Networks website, now part of HPE. And you'll be able to learn a lot more, or feel free to give me a call, Andrew Baltzerini, at 505-216-8779. You can find Wildflower International online. We have dedicated resources on staff that are Juniper Network authorized. We are a Juniper Networks federally lead partner, and we are here to help you, and we appreciate it. Thank you very much. And thanks for all of you who joined us today. We appreciate the privilege of your time. Thank you very much.